everybody. It's been a minute. This is my June and July wrap up because I only read 4 books in June. And so I figured I could just like wrap it all up together. These are the books that I read in July. I actually read 5 books. These are the books I read in July. And we're gonna go through them. Okay, so first I read Daisy Hates. Look at this cover. In one of my past videos, I talked about it, like my packing one for one of my vacations. I don't know. I talked about this book and I was like, you know, basically it's about this girl whose name is Daisy Hates. It's in the Magnolia Parks universe. So I talked about Magnolia Parks, but Daisy Hates is the daughter of like a crime boss. But the crime boss died, so her older brother Julian, like, is the crime boss in, like, London. Like, the head of all the crime in London. It's sort of the same with, like, how Magnolia Park series is very much like a character study. The same thing applies here. Is that Miss Daisy, she's very, like, stoic and very, like, keeps to herself, takes care of her boys, like her brother and all the people that care for her and watch over her and stuff, all of her bodyguards and stuff. But she's not very good with other females because she doesn't have that female role model, and her mom also hated her when she was a child. That's a whole other thing. And it just is a character study on her meeting this guy and then them like hooking up, but her also dealing with her past relationship that she was in, that she loved this other dude. So it's kind of like this battle, like this back and forth, you know? This one I gave a 4 stars to. It was so good. Reading this series, because I continued to read the series. I'll talk about that later on. But like reading this series, it made me want to go get it tattooed on me. That's how you know it's a good series, is when you want to go get it tattooed on you. And I stand by that. So Daisy Hates, 4 stars. It is so... And then I read the second Magnolia Park series book. The second one in the Magnolia Parks. Magnolia has left London. It's been a year since the end of the first book. She comes back. BJ is trying to change, and it's their story. BJ and Magnolia, a continuation of their story. And I thoroughly enjoyed it because they are all just so messy and it's so much drama, and same premise as Daisy Hates is very much like character study, lots of stuff. These people are so rich and filthy rich and just have nothing to do except for sleep with each other and wear clothes. Like, that is it. I gave this one 5 stars because just their development as characters, and you find out why they were the way they were. Like, I cried so hard finishing this book and just like in shambles. And you don't get it unless you read. Magnolia Park's A Long Way Home, 5 stars. Then I read Daisy Hates and the Great Undoing. This is the second Daisy Hates book. This one I also gave 5 stars to because it's like this book and this book are happening at the same time. This is from Daisy's point of view. This is from Magnolia's point of view. And both of their stories are so tea, bro. It's so tea. And they just like the men. The men in this book. Like, Christian, Julian, BJ, even though BJ's not my favorite, but Christian and Julian. I want to get a B and I want to get a Daisy tattooed on me. And if you know, you know why. Also 5 stars. Cried at the end of this book too. I can't do it. And he wants to be with her, but she just drags him all along. They need to be together. Oh my god. Read this series. Please, dear God Almighty, read this series. It's so flippin' good. Okay, next book. I read The Whisper Man by Alex North. And this is a thriller book, and basically this kid gets kidnapped. First he has like imaginary friends. This little boy has imaginary friends with his dad, and then they move. So they move states because a bunch of stuff was happening in their old towns. They had to move. They move across the country into this new house, and things are still weird. And his kid is strange, and then his kid gets kidnapped. I gave this book a 3 stars because I don't like children getting kidnapped in thriller books. It just makes me uncomfortable. I don't know why I read this. The end was not that good. I think I guessed the ending. And it was very underwhelming. So 3 stars. those are all the books I read in June. Holy moly. Nice little stack we have going. Now we're gonna get the books I read in July. Oh, look at her. Look at this stack. She's a nice stack. The first book I read in July is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This book is about Daphne and Miles. And Daphne was engaged to marry this guy named Peter. And Miles was engaged to marry this woman named Petra. And their fiancés were best friends growing up, and then they realize they have feelings for each other and break up with these two, and then they go get together. So then Daphne has to end up moving in with Miles because she needs a place to live. They don't really not get along, but they're just kind of like, eh. It's very like New Girl. Nick from New Girl is very Miles coded, as in like their vibe is very similar. They're both very chill, very like blue collar, work with their hands workers. But Miles is so thoughtful and so sweet and just like thinks about her, and he doesn't let a whole lot of stuff like get to him. And he doesn't really hold like grudges. He's a very calm, peaceful man, which I really liked and I think was good for Daphne. But he helped her find who she was. It's a good story. I would recommend this book. It's still not my favorite Emily Henry book, but it was really good and I really enjoyed it, and I gave this 4 stars. Then I read The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. This is a memoir about this girl. Her family lived out in like the Midwest. Her dad really didn't believe in like the government and whatever. And they would just like kind of float around and really big on tax evasion. It was very sad for sure and very like thought-provoking. It was tough. It just follows her growing up and her becoming who she was today and like what she had to go through as a kid. It was very compelling and I would recommend reading this, and I gave this 5 stars. Then I read The Couple Next Door, which is a thriller, and it has another kidnapping. Their little baby gets kidnapped, and then they have to figure out what's going on, and it's like within a week of what happens, like the kid going lost. And I don't know why I keep reading children getting kidnapped. I don't even like it. I gave this book 2 stars because it was not good. The plot just like, it was so boring. I was so bored the entire time, and like the characters were so whiny. Like the main characters were so whiny, and I'm like, y'all get it together. And so it's just like self-deprecating characters, and I'm just like, you can be self-deprecating and at work. This did not work. So 2 stars. Then I read Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This book, if you watched my vacation vlog, I gave this book 2 stars because it's a romance book, but there's not really a plot, if you know what I mean. I just was like, I don't care about these people. Y'all are so like Wattpad. There's no substance to you. There's no substance to your arc. Y'all just want to have sex, which is fine. I didn't really care. So 2 stars. If you want a trashy, like spicy little love story, it was super easy to read though. Then you can read this. So, and I'm probably gonna read the next one because I do have it. So I gave this book 2 stars. I want to clarify, I'm not saying that the book was trash. I'm just saying that I personally thought it was trashy. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, okay? I'm just a girl on the internet talking about how I feel about a book. Go read, please go read. Go read. Okay, that's all. And next, I read the book Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This story is about this girl who was convicted of killing, this little black girl was convicted of killing this little white baby when she was, I think she was maybe 8 or 9. And so because she is 8 or 9 years old, she is sent to like baby jail is what she calls it. And then she gets sent to one of these like homes for like troubled youth. It's a very tough story, tough read, but it was so good and I was so wrapped up in it. And they bring in like articles because people have written stories about this girl. They're saying that she's mentally ill, which like the end you find out what happens, but at the very end it's like open-ended, which I love thrillers that are like that. It's like open-ended and the narrator is unreliable and you trust her through the entire story and you want her to succeed and you feel for her and you feel this pain and this terrible thing that she went through and had to live through and suffer through and is trying to just overcome and not become a statistic. She wants to overcome the stereotype and this person that she's been created to be by the media. And it was so good, and just like her trial gets opened back up and she just wants a good life for herself. And that was a spoiler, I'm gonna cut that out, but it's her trying to find herself after she's convicted of this, and it was so good. So 5 stars for this book. Then I read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. This book sounds about what it is. It's a bunch of housewives living in this southern town, this very small southern town. They have a book club. This guy moves in and he keeps to himself, but then they find out like something's not right with him. The women, because it's like the 80s, I think, or the 90s, but it's still, their mindset is still very much like women stay at home, take care of the kids, the men's gonna go make the money, the men are always right. The women are just crazy, they just get stir crazy, so we don't need to like pay them any mind. That's kind of how this book was set up. One of the women tries to figure out like what's going on with this dude. No one believes her. I thought it was good. The end was not, though. It took a left turn. This book is very much like PG-13, like cozy mystery. The ending was not, unfortunately. The ending was like mature, rated R, NC-17. I didn't like it. I did not like the ending, so that definitely bumped it down for me. But I gave this book 3 stars, so. And then I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. And this is the second book in the Powerless series. The Powerless series is about this girl named Peyton Gray. They live in this world of elites where this plague came through, killed off a bunch of people, and the people that are left are elites and they all have powers. The ordinaries that sort of kind of develop over time are people that don't have powers. The king wants to kill off all of the ordinaries because he wants this elite society. And so they have these purging trials every year, which is what the first one was about. And Peyton gets wrapped up in them because she has no powers, but she pretends she has powers. She pretends she's a psychic so she can get away with living there. And so she gets involved in these purging trials. She gets involved with the princes, the end. I can't tell you what happens at the end, but this is the second one in it. It's kind of a filler book, like it's definitely more romance focused, but it was sort of frustrating because it was just like the same argument she was having the entire book. Like the entire time she was arguing with one of the love interests. And I'm like, girl, we get it. Like, it's a very much like cat and mouse. She's running and he's trying to go find her type thing, which the first like half of this book, I was like, kicking my feet, giggling. But the end was good. I liked how it ended. You kind of see it coming a little bit, but I'm so excited for the third book. I'm ready for it to come out because we need to move the plot along. But it was still good. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Then a little reread for me because I'm trying to reread the Throne of Glass series. So I read Assassin's Blade, which is it's the book before the series actually starts, that gives backstory to our main character. If you have never heard of the series, I don't know what you're doing, because it is probably one of the most, if not the most popular fantasy series that in the past like 5 years. But this one is it has 4 different stories about our main character, Miss Selena Sardathian. Miss Girl, Miss Queen, love her. I don't really know how to explain this book, except it gives backstory to the entirety of the rest of the series. And it's about Selena Sardathian, who's an assassin, who's Ardalan's assassin. She's a baddie, okay? She's so strong, she can kill anyone, and she got silver hair. And that's about it. So 5 stars, because I already read this like 14 times, so. And look at the tabs. Tabs her up. Then I read A Shadow in the Ember, which is in the From Blood and Ash series that I was reading. This series is so long. It's literally so long. So there's the From Blood and Ash series. So there's 5 books in that series. And then there's Shadow in the Ember series, which is 3 books. And it's intertwined. So you read the first 3 of From Blood and Ash, then you read this one, then you go back to the 4th book in From Blood and Ash, then you read the 2nd one in the series, then you read the 5th book in Blood and Ash, and then you read the 3rd one in the series. It's a whole thing, bro. It's so much information. This book is over 600 pages, okay? She's thick, right? The From Blood and Ash series, let me talk about that. I love that series. I really do like it, and there's a lot of stuff that goes in it, but there's a lot of info dumping in those series. This one, we follow another character whose name is Seraphina, and she's raised to be the maiden. She's the first maiden, if you know anything about the From Blood and Ash series. She's the first maiden, and her land it has a thing, it's called the rot, so it's everything's rotting and dying. And so her plan is to get one of the primal gods. So there's gods and then there's primal gods. Primal gods are like the kings that rule over different areas of the world, but gods have like certain powers. But a god can become a primal god if something were to happen. It's a whole thing. So she is offered up, she's the maiden, so she's offered up to the primal gods as like a sacrifice for their world. And the only way to kill a primal god is to get them to fall in love with you, and then you can kill them because it weakens them. So she is raised from like when she was young to when she's 17 years old to be offered to a primal god and kill him. When you kill a primal god, you get a wish, and so she's gonna wish for the rot in her land to go away. That's pretty much the plot of this book. But our male love interest in this book, holy moly, I'm in love with him, actually. I'm in love with him. And he is my husband. Sorry, Jeremy. He's just so thoughtful, and like, Serafina is like, she is so like confident in herself, and she's not like this like, she says how she feels. She does not back down. And it's not like in a cringy way, like a lot of like the female main characters are like, oh, but I'm just so small and I'm just a girl and like I went through all these trials and no. Miss Serafina is a woman. She's a woman. She's not a girl. And I really like that about her. She is so slay. She knows some stuff. And our love interest is not. And normally it's the other way around. Normally it's the man that's experienced life and our female character is not. Please read this book. It's so good. I ate this book up. It was so so good. Okay. Shadow and Amber. Then I read the 4th book in the Blood and Ash series, so it's A War of Two Queens. Another 600-page book. And I read it in a week, I think. This follows continuation of our Blood and Ash series. It's hard to describe books in a series because then you have to spoil it. Okay, we've been new. I gave this book 4 stars. Because the first 50 pages I was going to DNF it. Do not finish. I was going to put it down because it was pissing me off. And I'm like, this is so stupid. But obviously I feel differently about it. This one, I'm giving this 3 stars. Because the entire time I was done and I was like, literally the only thing keeping me reading this book was the spicy scenes. I hate that, but it's true. It's the truth. I was just so fed up with the characters, and I was just like, I don't care. There's so much info dumping, and I feel like I'm reading sacred texts when I read these books, because you have to remember so much, and it's so much information you have to like dive into it. And a big thing with fantasy books is if you don't understand what's going on, just keep reading and you'll figure it out. That's definitely how this book was, because there were so many names, and I had to remember everything that was going on, and it was like, took a lot of brain power. That's for sure. It's not a little cozy romance fantasy book. No. It was kind of cliche. There was a lot of cliches, but I mean, I had a good time reading it, I think. So I gave this book 3 stars. But I still recommend this series. If you're an experienced fantasy reader, read this series. And that is all the books that I read in June and July. Let's get a little stack show. Do you see that? Look at how many. That is so many books. I'm so proud of myself. Thank you for watching this video. Follow me on Goodreads so you can see what I'm reading at the moment. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm going away to college in a couple weeks, so I will not be posting that many videos now anymore. I'll still try to read some, but I'm going to be an English lit major and I'm taking 3 English classes already. We'll see if I can get some reading done, because I still want to post little reading vlogs or whatever. But bear with me, y'all. Thanks for watching. If you watched all the way to this point, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Spread kindness, spread love, spread joy. You know, have a good day. God bless. Bye, everybody.